Hello, I am Burt Green, this is the Burt Locker, this is episode 155. Basically, I'm titling this one, Francis Ngannou messed up and he bloody knows it, because I'm going to recap what happened at UFC Vegas 71, but also I'm going to go into what Ngannou has been saying on Twitter, because honestly, I think he played himself, honestly. I think he's starting to realise it. But anyway, more on that when we actually get into it. But first, let's take a look at UFC Vegas 71. The recap, anyway. So, Davey Grant, for a start. Wow. I love Davey Grant. He puts on some terrific fights. I believe myself and Dave Keane said that he's got a story about Davey Grant, which I'm intrigued in hearing. So I'll be doing another podcast with the DT podcast. Shout out to my boy, Dave Keane. Just go and check out his podcast. It's absolutely brilliant. It's really, really good fun. It's the one that I listen to anyway. So... Davey Grant, he knew he needed the win. He got a point taken off him for a fence grab, and then he managed to get a Sansao in an inverted triangle. Unbelievable. Like, you couldn't write that. Like, a Sansao should have had the advantage in the grappling, and basically did, but it's just, Davey rocked him first, and it was just a brilliant finish. Absolutely brilliant. Now, the thing is, some people got upset saying that they should have given a Sansao the position back, but the problem is, at the point the foul was committed, actually Davey Grant had top position, so if they were going to do that, they'd have had to give Davey Grant top position anyway. So look, they took the point, and that's it. They took the point. You can either take the point or give them back the position. I don't think you can do both. I think that's too much of a disadvantage, it's because it's an instinctual thing, isn't it? I know that they're not allowed to do it, but it is instinctual. You go to grab anything and it is an issue. I get that, but it's not like a flagrant... I know it does stop takedowns, but it's more instinctual than it is kind of intentional cheating, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's hear it for Jonathan Martinez. I did pick him to beat Saeed Nurmagomedov, and he was one of the biggest underdogs on the card. And you know what? He did a fantastic job. It's just watching Nurmagomedov's face when he realised that actually he's losing this fight, and he had nothing left for him. Nikita Krylov was absolutely outstanding. He baited him in actually because he got the height. Once it got to the grappling, as I thought, Krylov just had such a huge advantage. But actually, he ended up too high on his back, but then baited him into a triangle by just dropping off of his back, knowing that Spann was going to come into him, and he slapped that triangle on straight away. That is some high-level stuff, because he had the back, knew he was too high, slid off, baited him into the triangle, submitted him. Perfect performance. Alexander Volkov, absolutely brilliant. I did think that this was going to be on the cards for Romanov, unfortunately. As soon as he stopped that takedown, Romanov, he just looked like a rabbit in headlights. And I said that, look, Volkov, he's like damn near 7 feet tall. He's a huge monster of a man. He's difficult to take down. And if that's going to be your main game plan against him, unfortunately, he's probably going to batter you. And that's what happened. And Merab Dvalishvili, what can you say? What a great performance. It was exactly as I thought it would be, just relentless. Like, he doesn't always get the takedown, but he threatens with it so much that he just ends up pouring this pace on that you just cannot keep up with. Now, as we know, he's not interested in fighting Aljamain Sterling because they're teammates. But I mean, the winner of Vera and Sandhagen, or the loser, because whoever goes up to fight for the title, he could just, sweep up after. And, when Aljamain hopefully goes up to featherweight, Merab can then... Because I think Merab Dvalishvili is just one of the greatest talents in that division. He's so good. That pace that he puts on is unbelievable. And I love watching it. I really do. There's not many men that always go to a decision that you can say is always fun to watch, but it's just, I'm in awe of the fact that he can just pour that pace on for that long. It's crazy. So anyway, before I get into the news or what I'm talking about this week, just do me a favour, could you hit subscribe? That'd be much appreciated. Don't think about it, just do it. Just hit subscribe. You don't have to hit the bell notifications, you have to do anything that it costs you nothing. Just subscribe, please. It helps me out a lot. Thank you. So, looking into this, right, Francis Ngannou, he has messed up. And he really knows it, I think. Because look, he obviously it's fairly common knowledge that he was, in talks with the UFC, and he basically asked for some ridiculous things on his contract that he knew the UFC were never going to agree to, and he more or less left because he wanted the bigger payday in boxing. I think he's starting to realise that is not happening, because the problem is the real boxers, they're not interested. They're trolling him at this point. You've got Tyson Fury talking about, oh yeah, let's have it in 4-ounce gloves with Mike Tyson as the special guest referee. That's not taking it. That's not a serious fight negotiation, Francis. And Francis then pipes up and goes, yes, we'll do it. That sounds great. It's like, no, Francis, he's making fun of you, mate. Like, he's making fun of you because you basically quit your job without another job lined up, and now the other jobs aren't lining up. And the thing is, there's a load of people saying, oh, trust me, Francis is fine. It's like, is he? He was saying he had to borrow money for fight camps. Like, when he was and that's when he's making millions in the UFC, by the way. Millions, not on like a shit contract. At the point he was making millions, he was saying he needed to borrow money to, what is he spending all his money on? I think he's got some bad people around him, honestly, because that's a budgeting problem. Not being funny, he should be able to pay for a fight camp when he's earning millions at that point. I mean, yeah, say we will about the lower end contracts, but he wasn't on one of those. Let's be fair. He saw that money that Jake Paul was getting, but Jake Paul is not, he's a celebrity, Francis. Like, he's already made his brand. The problem is, outside of MMA, you're not the brand that you think you are. That's the problem, isn't it? He overvalued his hand, and now he's gone all in, and he's realised, John, he was chasing that straight. He's gone all in before the straight has been made. The river has come out, and he hasn't got the straight, and now he's pot committed. But he's got nothing, and he knows it. This is a real problem, because it kind of makes me sad at this point. It's sad to watch Francis Ngannou on Twitter just tweeting at any heavyweight boxer that he feels might be able to get him that payday that he gave up the biggest heavyweight contract in UFC history for. He's hoping and praying, like tweeting at bloody Deontay Wilder, oh, you don't want this smoke. It's like, Francis, in boxing, Deontay Wilder will kill you, and everybody knows it. And that's why the revenue for the fight isn't there, because everybody knows the outcome already. At least with McGregor against Mayweather, there was a couple of intangibles. Okay, we didn't really think that McGregor was going to win that fight, but what if? I mean, Floyd is a lot older now. McGregor is the bigger guy, right? With any of these guys, Francis, like against Tyson Fury, you're the older guy. And also, you're a terrible boxer, like in boxing terms, and everyone knows there is no out. There is no way you win that fight against Tyson Fury in a boxing match. It just doesn't happen. Everybody knows it, and that's why the fight won't sell. And that's why it was a foolish decision, in my opinion, for him to turn down the biggest contract in heavyweight UFC history just to go and try and get these boxing matches for this one big payday. It's kind of, because it's now starting to backfire, because none of those boxing offers are coming in, are they? Because he sits there on his interviews with ESPN talking about how, yes, I'm in negotiations with Deontay Wilder. Francis, a Twitter exchange with Deontay Wilder, with you saying you don't want this smoke, that's not fight negotiations, Francis. That's not what it is. It's just nothing. There's nothing going on. It's just... Yeah, the problem is, it's just sad. It is sad, because I don't wish him ill, because he was fun to watch in the UFC, but he's going to have to go back to another MMA organisation, most likely. He is not going to get the contract that the UFC were offering him, and I don't think he's going to get a boxing match. He's not going to get the boxing match that he wanted. He's kind of stuck in limbo at this point. And now, and then he's coming out with some ridiculous stuff just to try and stay relevant. Because obviously we saw John Jones coming back in the heavyweight division last week. And Francis sits here and goes, what I did notice was John was rushing. John didn't want to give him space. I think he was afraid of something. Maybe of getting exhausted at some point, not being able to grab him. So John was chasing Cyril from the start. You didn't watch you didn't pay attention to the fight. John wasn't chasing anything. He got the takedown perfectly because he slipped that punch off of Ciryl Gane and then grabbed him and took him down. He didn't chase the takedown. If you chase the takedowns, you often don't get them, but John's smarter than that. He did it off a slip punch, Francis. That's what happened there. Good Lord. And the thing is, right, that's surely telling, isn't it? Because not being funny, if John Jones can slip a punch off of Ciryl Gane, one of the fastest, most technical strikers in the heavyweight division, what do you think he's going to be able to do against, not with the greatest respect, Francis Ngannou's telegraphed winging punches? He's going to slip those and take him down, no problem. In my opinion, John Jones fustigates Francis Ngannou because he's just going to slip those punches and take him down. Because if he can slip a punch off Ciryl Gane, he can slip a punch off of Francis Ngannou, because speed-wise, Ciryl Gane's way faster. Anyway, it is all very sad. It's sad to see Ngannou like this. It's sad to see him begging on Twitter every other day for a boxing match. It's sad. It is sad at this point. But hey, what can you do? Like, he made his own bed. You know, he's done it to himself. He has played himself. The UFC basically offered him the biggest contract in heavyweight UFC history, and he still didn't accept it. So come on, man. He left all that money on the table. He better hope that he can go and make it somewhere else now, but it's not looking likely. But speaking of which, you've got obviously John Jones. He's come back against Ciryl Gane. Now you're going to be seeing him against Stipe Miocic. That's going to be really fun. I'm going to really enjoy that. My question is, look, obviously there was a clear path of least resistance against Ciryl Gane, which was the grappling and the wrestling. I would ask, where is Stipe's weakness? Let me know in the comments. Where do you think Stipe's weakness is? Outside of the fact that he's 40 years old, I don't think that Stipe has any really weak areas. It's going to be a very different fight, that one. And it's interesting. It's really interesting. Now, if John Jones does get past Stipe Miocic, I'm going to call it here first. John Jones gets past Stipe Miocic. UFC 300 next summer will be John Jones defending his heavyweight title against this man, Brock Lesnar. Calling it here first. You wait. You wait until you see it. This is what the UFC, I guarantee they're already working on it, potentially behind the scenes. If John Jones beats Stipe Miocic, it will be Brock Lesnar and John Jones headlining UFC 300. And you know what? I would go to that. I'd buy tickets to that shit. I don't even care that they're both going to probably fail drug tests in the build-up. But I would pay to see it. It would smash every pay-per-view record. It just would. And yeah, I would like to see it. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. So yeah, just got one more thing. Troll of the week. The funniest thing that I've seen this week is basically, Khabib Nurmagomedov came out after Gane's wrestling didn't look good. His grappling defense was terrible, and Khabib's offered to help train him in Dagestan. And so obviously the first thing people did was do a couple of photoshops on Ciryl Gane, putting the Dagestan chin beard on there as Khabib invites Ciryl Gane to Dagestan 1 year later, and Cyryl's got the long hair and the Dagestan beard, and he does need to improve his grappling because his stand-up is phenomenal, but it obviously against good wrestlers he's always going to come unstuck. But that's all got time for this week. So I've also done my UFC 286 casuals guide, so check that out on the channel please, and I'll be reviewing all of that next week, and then I'll be doing some deep dives. I don't know which fights I'm going to pick yet. Probably Leon Edwards Usman is probably going to be on there. But yeah, if you did enjoy this content, please hit subscribe, and until next time, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.